Good morning, church. Having a little bit of allergy problems, so cracking and croaking here and there. But I just wanted to get us back on track here. We've got a lot of things coming up. The Lamb and Wolf Fair is on the 22nd and 23rd, I believe. It's Saturday, Sunday. It's not going to be on Friday. There'll be a parade, but it's going to be a porch parade. We'll have a float in it. Uh, Deborah and Bob are working on that. Bob's going to have his tractor here and pull the float. So it'll be hopefully we'll have several children on it and be able to represent our church in the community because we are a part of the community. I was asked by a person in town when I was shopping here in Scio. I try to do all my shopping in Scio. If it's something I can get here, I'll get it here. Uh, so anyhow, they asked me why our church is so involved in the community. And I thought that was a good question. And I said, well, how are people going to know that they're loved and that we care if we're not involved with things in the community? Because that's the field. That's where people are. And so we do everything we can to be involved, take part, lead where we can, and support where we can. So that's why we're in the community. It's just, to me, a little bit of common sense because Jesus said to go and make disciples. Well, we don't count numbers at our church. We count action and lives that are changed and encouraged and lifted up. So, yeah, we're involved in the community, and Leon does an outstanding job of that. He's very involved. He keeps us tied into what's going on in the community better than I ever could at this time. And we've always been involved in the community. We've always taken part in things uh, for the last 27 years, I know, and prior to that. So that's what we want to be, a church that people know if they've got something they need help with, they can come and see us at Scio Christian. So we're in the book of James. Surprise! We do have some serious prayer requests that are going on right now. One of them is Aspen Skeens. He is in the hospital with COVID. He's still on oxygen. He's not doing real well, but it sounds like he's getting a little better, but they've got to eventually wean him off the oxygen. So his whole family's been exposed to COVID, and we want to continue to pray for the Skeen family. Let's see who else. There were several others Sunday morning. They're on the prayer chain. If you're not on the prayer chain, I would encourage you to get on it. One other thing to bring up with things coming up on this summer and wanting to do some extra things in the community and our fireworks and our Lamb and Wolf Fair and hopefully the Turner Lamb Fair. With all of those things coming up, we just encourage you to continue to support financially. I know it's been a tough time for many of us, and prices are skyrocketing. Gas has gone up almost $1 a gallon in just a few months, and so it's definitely something that we need to keep in mind and continue to be faithful in our giving. Give as you prosper. If you don't have the money, God understands, but you can give in many ways. You can participate. You can be a part of the Lamb and Wolf Fair Bo Peep Cafe. Go down and help Leon and those that are helping him serve burgers. It's going to be totally different this year. I'm not sure how it's going to wash out, but you can do that. Come to the church. If you like gardening, work in the flower beds around the church. Mow the yard. Do whatever. You can give in many ways. The important thing is that you give, that you participate. That's what James is talking about. When we're reading, James says, I'll show you my faith by the things I do, by the life I live. And we have to remember that. And it's on all of us to be an active part of the body of Jesus as we assemble together each Lord's Day. Many of you can't come, and still have some concerns about COVID and that. So do we. And we encourage everybody to wear their mask when they come in. If you're going to be close to somebody, wear a mask. Some of us are a little more liberal on that. We're taking them off when we're sitting down because we're distanced. We're safely distanced. We have the chairs are set apart by at least 6 feet, and so it's pretty easy to that music that you hear. That was my puppies, our Chiweenies. They were out there on the front deck barking at somebody. They're little stinkers, I'll tell you. If you want to get active, get a little dog and try to keep up with it. But anyhow, I want to go ahead and get started. Last week we were talking about James and how we can put bits in the mouths of horses and make them obey us. That was verse 3 of James 3. He says that not many of you should become teachers. Remember that? And, they're going to be judged more harshly. So you have to be careful before you take on a position of teaching. None of us are perfect. None of us can keep our whole body in check. And those are all just facts, period. And there's no doubt about it. Ships, the tongue is compared to the rudder on a ship, guiding it. And the tongue can be a fire. Just a world of evil can come from our tongues. So it corrupts the whole body. So we want to be careful with what we say and how we say it. We can say things, and just the inflection of our voice or the facial expression will send much more message than the words themselves. So we do need to be careful and know. James cautions us. He says that, all kinds of animals and that have been trained and tamed by man, but a man can't tame his tongue. It's restless, evil, full of deadly poison. With the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, it says, and then we curse human beings that are made in his image. This is what I'm coming to learn a little bit more of and understand a little more fully. That each and every individual, no matter what their issues are, no matter where they stand on anything, they're created in the image of God. And we're called to love them. And I know that's difficult sometimes. We don't have to love what they do, but we have to love them and show kindness and mercy to them, because that's how, hopefully, they will come to know the Christ. So, we went through that last week, and then we started talking about wisdom. And there's an old Yiddish proverb, I believe, that says that man's wisdom causes God to laugh. I thought, boy, oh boy, does it, because we got some of the quote wisest people in the country running this country, and I'm sure God's saying, oh boy, and he may, I'm sure he's saying it about me too. Michael, what's the matter with you? But we'll just start there with verse 13 and read a few verses here so you hopefully finish up this chapter today. I've only got about 10 minutes left, so I better get going. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life, by the deeds done in humility that comes from wisdom. You know, that's a big key, and it ties in with I'll show you my faith by the things I do. Wisdom, show it by your life, the kindness in your life, the deeds that you do humbly, not seeking notoriety or recognition. We've got many people in our congregation that I know have given and not let anybody know that it happens. I found out about it in different ways. Little birds come talk to me, but they meet the needs of people and they never want any credit. We had someone donate money towards buying the food for the fundraiser, but they don't want anybody to know who it is. They're just doing this out of the goodness of their heart. And that's what we're talking about here. Deeds done in humility that comes from wisdom. You see a need, you know it's there, and you take care of it. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish, verse 14, but if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. Boy, James comes right down where the rubber meets the road, and that's one of the reasons there's so many people discount the book of James. But he's talking about real life. And he's talking to Jewish Christians that have not been fulfilling their goal that God has for them in their lives. He says, such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but it's earthly and unspiritual, demonic. So if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, that is not going to lead to wisdom. That's going to be an earthly wisdom. That's going to be, even he says, demonic, unspiritual, demonic. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice. Boy, does that tell it like it is? I hope it does for you. It certainly does for me. Selfishness, envy. We're cultivating that in our culture. It's sad. And we're seeing the results of it. We're seeing cities burned. We're seeing riots. Although they're supposed to be peaceful marches. But there's riots going on. People have blocked freeways, keeping people from getting to work, keeping ambulances from getting through with patients. Sad. Where you have envy and selfish ambition, you'll find disorder and every evil practice. But the wisdom, now that's earthly wisdom, but the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure. Then it's peace-loving. It's considerate. It's submissive. It's full of mercy and good fruit. See, it all ties together. That's a wisdom from God. That's a wisdom from heaven. It's a wisdom that's pure to begin with. I always think of David, create in me a clean heart, O God. God's still got work to do. He's still got work to do on me for sure. But it's peace loving. It doesn't seek conflict. It's peace loving. It's a shame sometimes we think we're so right that in order to get our point across, we've got to get in somebody's face and yell and scream and holler and shout. One of the founders of the Restoration movement, which is where the Church of Christ Christian churches have their heritage, was a great debater. He won debates left and right. But as he was aging and time came, later in his life, he said if he had it to do over, he wouldn't do those because he doesn't know of one single person that was brought to God because he was right. We need to remember that. Peace loving and considerate. One wise lady in our church keeps bringing up a part of any issue. What's your perspective? Look at the perspective you're coming from. That's what's important, because that'll help you understand why you feel the way you do, but maybe why the other person feels the way they do. So keep that in mind. Considerate, submissive to God's word, submissive to the elders, submissive to others, considering others better than yourself. That's not putting yourself down. That's building yourself up, because you know that you can be submissive. Paul says to be submissive to one another. Submit yourselves to one another. We all are submissive to Christ, and we need to be that in our lives, full of mercy and good fruit. What's the fruit of the Spirit? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control. I probably forgot one, but you got the picture. Mercy, we've talked about that. I mentioned that quite often. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Impartial and sincere. We don't have to take sides. I'm not going to side with politicians. I have my ideas and I believe those and I research it, but I'm not going to go to battle. I will explain things the way I understand them and hopefully persuade somebody. But I'm going to do my best to be impartial when a situation comes up and to be sincere. Peacemakers, verse 18, he says, peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. And I have to admit, I just watch Leon as he faces things. He's gotten a couple of phone calls this week, people just ripping on him. And he sows peace the very best he can from where he's at. He sows peace with those individuals that are tearing him apart. And he shall harvest righteousness. Boy, challenges ahead, opportunities ahead. No matter how bad things get, look at it as an opportunity, a way to move forward, a way to love God more, to love others more, and to follow closer to Jesus. That's our task, folks. God bless you. I pray you have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you next time.